Hello and welcome back to another video. It's been a little while and the reason for that is simple. Lack of motivation on my part. Nothing you've done. Just feeling the January blues, well, winter blues, and maybe it's the lockdowns, but I don't know. I've felt very demotivated. However, here I am. And I have something quite interesting for you. With everything that's going on in the world, it does seem rather as though gear, microphone choices, oh, he's got a little lift around 5K, that sort of thing, doesn't really matter very much. So I'm kind of feeling like, is it worth talking about gear? Does it really improve the records that we make as much as we might like to think? And over the years, I've built up some, a collection of quite nice microphones and all of that. So it's very easy for me to say, oh, gear doesn't matter. It's all about the playing and the performance and all of that. But would I actually be happy using an SM58 or an SM57 or whatever for my acoustic guitar mic? And I think it's a fair question. Now, we're not gigging. No one's gigging, no one's touring. We're not going to the pub for jam. So we've got none of that. So our main mode of creative expression as guitar players at the moment is recording, and most of us got interfaces. I assume if you found this channel, you're probably interested in recording and already beginning to do it, if not far advanced into doing it. So what can we do with the mics that we have in our bag, and is it worth holding on to buy something more expensive? I need to spend £500 or dollars or whatever on a X microphone, or should we just crack on with it with the mics that we have in our live bag? My suspicion is that these mics are going to sound just fine, but I haven't done this before, so let's find out together. The microphones in question are the Shure SM58, the Shure SM57, the Electronics SE1a, that's a pencil condenser, no longer made, but it's budget, so it's going to kind of give us an example in that genre of microphone. The Rode NT1a, I've looked at that before, as you may know, but it's nice to hear it in the context of these dynamic microphones and cheaper microphones to see how it fits into this comparison. We've got the Sennheiser E865, which is like a 58 copy, but a little bit better and a little bit cheaper in my opinion. The Sennheiser E906 as well, which is probably the most expensive one here, and I think that's it. It's 6 microphones. I'm going to record some acoustic guitar with all of these. I'm going to cut between them. I haven't yet decided exactly how I'm going to edit that because I haven't recorded it yet. And then I'm going to play you the piece, do some comparisons, and then talk about it afterwards. Sound all right? Yes. You want it, don't you? I can tell this is what you're interested in. I found that really interesting. I'm a little embarrassed to say that when I first put them in Logic, you can see them there just stacked, and I just went through them quickly, sort of ABCDing them. I thought maybe I'd recorded the dialogue mic by mistake, because they all sounded so similar initially. And that goes to show me how important the room is, and the position of the microphone in the room, and of course the instrument and the playing. Now, I know the playing isn't consistent. Forgive me for that. There's no... I could have set up 6 microphones and recorded the same performance each time, but that's really time consuming, and positionally they're going to be all over each other. It's impractical. So it's just a snapshot of how they sound, and to me they're all more or less serviceable. But yes, I was surprised at how similar they were on initial listen. Going a little deeper, I'm going to go through them here and let you know what I thought. I really would love to hear what you think, because it's all in the eye of the beholder, and it's going to depend on your headphones, your speakers, and all of that sort of stuff. But okay, so the SM58 £85 mic. It's a live vocal mic is what it's generally used for, and it's an old design. It was actually one of my favorites. I initially was going to do a video saying, can you record acoustic guitar on an SM58? I tried it and I was like, oh, this sounds fantastic. Why don't I do this? What, does nobody ever do this? And then I did some Googling, and I find that it's actually fairly common on acoustic guitar. So if you have an SM58, there is no reason to not use it, or to think that it's not good enough. For me, I really liked it. I wonder if there's enough detail for like fingerstyle stuff. But the great thing about it is that you do have to get it a bit closer. I mean, it was probably maybe this far. So we've got the guitar body here and the neck. So on that join of the guitar body and the neck, it's level with the fretboard. So the same height as the fretboard, pointing directly at the middle of the fretboard where the neck meets the body. And it's about that far away, maybe the length of the microphone away. It seems to respond quite well. You do have to keep it away from the sound hole, because that never sounds good, but no mics do. Issue with the SM58 is that it is relatively low output, so you have to crank the gain. The preamp that I'm using is the Focusrite Claret. The preamps in there are better than the ones in the Scarlet. Those can be noisy when you turn them up. So will the SM58 be good with lesser preamps? Not sure about that. I think it may get a bit noisy, because those preamps get a bit hissy as you turn them up. So that's a consideration there. But also it is directional, but it's not very focused in where it's looking. So it does pick up kind of what's around. But that makes it easy, and it means that if you move around while you're playing, it won't change the tone of the guitar too much. The SM57, for me, very, very similar to the SM58. I think it's slightly less forward. The 57 is a little fatter, whereas the 58 has like a kind of upper mid-range pokiness to it. Pokiness is too strong, but someone was going between them. I don't know that I'd be able to identify them if I didn't know what I was listening for. So pretty similar. Again, needs a lot of gain, so preamp dependent. But nice sound. I really like the sound. It just sort of sounds okay and solid, and it wouldn't concern me as long as I had clean preamps. Quite affordable, very robust. Good stuff. Now, moving on, the SE1a is a pencil condenser. It looks like this. Now, they don't make these anymore. SE Electronics don't make these days, but it is like £100 pencil condenser. And for me, it has an unpleasant top end. Like there's a harsh, papery, higher than paper sound. It's brittle and zingy, which is problematic. It is exciting when you first hear it. You're like, oh yeah, but it becomes fatiguing quite quickly. Oh yeah, is that enthusiastic enough for you? It needs phantom power. It's a condenser microphone, so it has lower noise. and you get a bit more, a lot more level out of it than you would the dynamic microphones that I've already mentioned. However, tonally, I don't enjoy the sound of this, so this would probably be at the bottom of the list for me, which is a shame because I've got two of them. The Sennheiser E835, I think I said 865 earlier in the video, but it's the 835. This is a vocal mic. It's £72, so what's that, $80 or something like that. For me, I didn't like this very much. It's got quite a hard upper mid peakiness to it. Good for a vocal trying to cut through a busy mix in a live situation, but I didn't love it on guitar. In some situations it might be useful. It's that hardness that it's got can be quite useful in certain situations, but on its own I don't think. Maybe in a busy mix and you're like hammering away on some acoustic guitars and they're going to sit back, you wouldn't need to do much EQing with this to kind of get it where you'd want it. So if you have one of those and you're doing acoustics that are going to sit in the background, no worries. The Sennheiser E906, that's this one. By the way, the switches were in the neutral position, so there's no top end cut or boost or any of that stuff, so it's just flat. I like this. I love it on guitar cabinets as well, which is why I have it. I use it to mic up a guitar cab. Very, very nice. Nothing stands out as problematic to me, and it's a good instrument mic, good on brass, good on percussion, and as I say, good on guitar cabs. So I quite like that. It is the most expensive mic here, I think, at £150, so $170-ish. But yeah, solid. The Rode NT1A, this is the oddity. I've done a video on this, as you may have seen, and it's okay. Again, it's kind of bright. It has a low end as well, which you probably need to EQ out in most situations. So it does tend to pick up also squeaky strings a little bit, as you'll have heard at the end there. Benefits of it, or the good bits, are that it's got very, very low self noise, but you do need to be a bit more careful with where you place it, and the sound hole you need to avoid the sound hole on the guitar, because the air that's coming out is very, very boomy on the NT1A, because it will pick that up. I find myself now wanting to compare these inexpensive microphones to my better microphones, but that's a tricky test because there are, that's going to be 10 mics, and actually doing that sort of comparison is a bit of a challenge. But what I'm struck by is that some of these mics I would just not use, and some I would. The SE1a I would reject quite quickly because that top end is nasty. The NT1a just doesn't have the right kind of vibe for me for acoustic guitar. It's a bit too much in the top end, a bit too much in the low end. Just doesn't sit on acoustic guitar in most mixes the way I want it to, so I probably wouldn't use that. And that leaves us with the dynamic mics. The Sennheiser 835 I think is probably the weakest of them, unless you want that peaky upper mid-range. That might work in some mixes, in some situations. If you have the mic, you're going to be limited to that sound, I think. But the SM58 and SM57, they're pretty interchangeable for me. I actually really like them. I think they've got a nice character on acoustic guitar. If you have a preamp which gives you enough clean gain, that is the big thing here. Budget interfaces like maybe the Scarlett, that kind of thing. I know a lot of people use that. Don't have the clean gain. They will be noisy, so your recordings will be a bit hissy with these dynamic microphones because their output is low. However, if you have something like a Claret or a mid-range kind of preamp like that, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. And then that leaves the E906, which I really like. I love it on guitar cabinets as well. So as I said, so that's another option. But really, I think what this is showing me is that there are mics under £100 that I'd be happy to record with if I have a good preamp. And I think we can all afford to go a little bit easy on ourselves in terms of, oh God, no, I can't start recording my EP, or I can't really do that with what I've got until I buy this. I need to save up for this microphone. I need to get that. I need to get that. I really think we can let some of that go. And I'd encourage that, because the number of times I've put off doing projects or things because I didn't have the right gear, didn't have the right lens for the camera. Just do it. Go out and be creative. Like, record the songs you want to record. Most people listening are not going to be like, "Ooh, is that noise floor a bit high?" Or that. As long as it doesn't sound horrible, and you know you put your heart and soul into it. I'm trying to encourage not getting hung up on gear. It's interesting for sure. I get it. But if you're wondering whether you have a mic that will do the job, if it's one of these or something like, give it a go, just try it. And I wish you well in your creative progress from this point on. Thank you to all the new subscribers. You are very welcome here. Thank you to the old ones. No favorites here. No, not playing favorites. But I appreciate it. I'll see you in the comments below. Let us know what you think about these cheap old mics that are really actually rather good. Ta-da.